Hi, this is part 3 of Music Theory 101. We've talked about fifths and the interrelationship of notes. We've talked about time signatures. We've talked about clefs. We've talked about rhythm and note values. And now we're going to talk about major and minor scales. There are 24 scales, 12 major and 12 minor. Each major scale has an interrelationship of notes that remains the same. It's like a formula. And I'm going to demonstrate on my violin, plucking the strings. For the, let's say we're playing G major. So it's like a ladder. You go up and down the scale by steps. The open G, the tonic note it's called, whatever scale you're in, that is called the tonic note, the note that it begins with. So we're starting with G, that is step 1. Then we put our first finger to A, which is a whole step from G. Then a whole step again to B. That's step 3. Now, in major scales, in between step 3 and 4 on the scale, there is always a half step. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put C right next to B. Then we continue. Step 5 is D. Step 6 is E. All those are whole steps apart. Step 7 is, step 6 is, step 7 is F sharp. And then we're back to the tonic note, step 8. And in between 7 and 8, there is always a half step. And you know that solage, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Well, you can apply that on any major scale with this formula. Let's try E flat major. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a half step. 5, 6, 7, 8. And there's another half step. And that's got that sound. Da, 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 da. So between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8, there's half steps. Now the deal with major scales is to every major scale, there is a relative minor. Now a relative minor scale has different relationships with half steps. And how you find the minor that relates to the major, see, remember when we talked about the circle of fifths and how there's this relationship with fifths throughout music and how it's all mathematical? Well, if you take the note G, and let's take the note G on the E string, and you count back 3 steps using G as 1. That's E. E is the relative minor to G. Let's say you were doing C. C, B, A. A is the relative minor to the C scale. Now when you play A minor, the thing that it has in common with the C scale is that it has the same key signature. There are no sharps and flats. And because of this, it has a different relationship between the half steps. In major scales, it's between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. And in minor scales, it's between 2 and 3 and 5 and 6. And by that, I mean the second and third note and the 5th and 6th note. Those have half steps. So let's try it. First note, second note, third note, half step. fifth and sixth notes, half step. And minor scales sound different than major. Major would sound like this. That's A major. A minor sounds like this. They have kind of more of a mysterious sound. This is all demonstrated on the circle of fifths. You will see it there. And these interrelationships of notes and scales is very interesting. It's all laid out like a great big map. And so basically in violin, beginning violin, it's great to know scales that go up to 4 sharps and probably up to 3 flats, because that's pretty much the extent of the music we'll be playing. But then you will also practice major and minor scales. So this is all good information and very useful in music, because you'll know your way around and be able to find where you're at musically. And this is part 3 of Music Theory 101, signing off.